Is that a painting or a mirror behind you there, Maura?
It's actually a painting.
Okay. Looks nice.
Thank you. I didn't do it myself.
Well, if you could slip it in the mail and have it round to me first thing in the morning, that'll go nicely for my Christmas present. Thank you.
Right, it is 18:30. I hope you're all sitting comfortably. You are all very welcome here at District 71, and we have an exciting masterclass for you this evening. And I wanted to welcome you all into the room and get ready for what's about to appear before you. I'm super excited to have our guest speaker, Anthony Garvey. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to James Finnegan, our Division B Director, to introduce our guest speaker for this evening. So over to you, James. So please put your hands together for James.
Thank you so very much, PRM Sue. I am delighted and honored to introduce my esteemed colleague and friend, Anthony Garvey, to the audience tonight. Anthony has over 30 years experience working in international public relations. He spent 9 years with Cyan PLC, staying with them from a startup business to a FTSE 100 establishment. In 2001, he created Quinn Garvey PR, providing PR and public relations and marketing experience for all over the UK and Ireland. However, he's also an experienced Toastmaster and speaker. He's a TEDx speaker. He's an award-winning author of the Grave Speakers series. He is the current District 91 International Speech Champion. And he is a past president of Tralee Toastmasters and a current president of Shilling Speakers. Please put your hands together for a wonderful masterclass in PR from Mr. Anthony Garvey, DTM.
Thank you, James. Thank you, James. Thank you, Susan, for inviting me, and you're very welcome in to this evening's masterclass. Let me tell you a little bit. That's sparkling accolade there in the beginning. Beautiful run through some of my greatest hits. Really grateful to you, James, my friend. That was excellent. Greatly appreciated. Listen, you can relax this evening. In terms of death by PowerPoint, it's not going to happen. James may have mentioned to you that I did a TEDx at his invitation in Tralee, so TEDx Tralee a couple of years ago. And the topic of my presentation was how to present naked. Now you can breathe because the clothes will be staying on. And the idea behind the presentation, was how to present without slides, without notes, without even those little cue cards that you see desperate brides and bridegrooms have in their top pockets. So I had to stand up and look into the eyes of an audience, be able to pivot and maneuver should you need to. It's a great skill to be able to do, and I'm only able to do it really thanks to Toastmasters. But tonight I'm going to talk to you about my bread and butter, really, public relations. So I've been a corporate PR guy really for over 30 years. And when I turned up to the big company that I worked for over in the UK on my very first day, the guy who I was replacing said to me, there are 3 important things about this job. Get a subscription to the Racing Post, he said, so you can pick winners during your lunch break. He said, you don't have to do very much work. Stay away from the journalists if you can. And he said, number 3, he said, putting a key in front of me, intriguingly, that's the key to the loans cupboard. That's where we keep all our machines. The journalists love them. Don't let them anywhere near it. When the person you are replacing has done a horrible job, you know that if you do any kind of job at all, you're going to do better than that. So it was a delight for me to find that the person vacating the seat I was about to occupy was incompetent. Let's talk a little bit about PR. And when you're delivering a session like this with people here in the room virtually, and people looking back on this, or maybe they're being given this on their first day in as a new VP PR, I'm trying to reach several different communities here who have different aims and different desires and different goals. I could be talking to someone from a corporate club who meets maybe for an hour and who's not interested in promoting their club to the wider public. Or I could be talking to a community club, maybe a successful one or a struggling one, or someone somewhere in the middle. Maybe I'm talking to an online club only, or a hybrid club, or one that meets in person. So with all of these different competing clubs that are out there at the moment, the very first thing that you have to ask yourself, what is the aim of the PR I'm trying to achieve? What are the goals of it? And they should match the goals that your committee sets for the year. So let's take one of the clubs I'm a member of, which is Shilling Speakers in District 91. We have 36 members. We don't need any more members. In fact, if we have more members, we might struggle to accommodate their educational needs and find speaking slots for them. So our PR, the aims of our PR is different. And we've set ourselves the lofty and perhaps unachievable goal, certainly unmeasurable goal. And they tell you in business, make sure your goals are achievable and measurable in time. But anyway, look, we're in PR. We can do what we like. We can be dreamers. Our goal is to be the best online club in the world. So that's the goal that we've set ourselves. And our PR aligns itself to promote that goal. So the aim of the committee is what you should first consider when you're thinking about your PR and align yourself accordingly. But I have 2 other suggestions for you, whether you're a corporate or a community club. Think about Toastmasters beyond your club. Think about promoting the area, the division, maybe not the district, because Sue is very ably looking after PR for the district. But think about maybe grouping together, particularly if you're in a remote location, with some of the other clubs, pooling your resources and getting PR as a set of clubs. That make a huge difference to you. And I've got some examples as we go through this presentation today. Speaking of the presentation, I told you there'd be no slides. I'm going to rabbit on here for about 55 minutes. And when I'm finished doing that, we'll open it up to the floor for questions. And it's at that point, whether you're a corporate club or a community club, whether you're a hybrid club or an online club, or you meet in person, you can ask me questions that relate specifically to your club and to how and to your particular needs. Can I ask, though, for a show of virtual hands, would you put your hand in the air if you're actually responsible for public relations for your club this year? So if you are, you might put your virtual hand up or your actual hand like Paul. I see Philip has his hand in the air. Asnan has his hand in the air. Anastasia as well. Violetta, oh, nice to see you, Violetta. So there are about half a dozen of you. Patricia too, excellent. Okay, you can put your hands down. So there are about 7 or 8 of you in the room who are responsible for PR. And maybe some of you next year will be responsible, and certainly some of you looking in. If you're looking in at this now, you probably are responsible for PR. One of the tricky things about doing PR, having the PR role in this organization, is that next year, someone else is going to do it. And the year after, someone else is going to do it. So every year it changes. Now, I know there's a good reason for that. And I know that working your way through the roles in a club gives you a great breadth of experience. But if you think about Toastmasters in a business sense, imagine doing that in a business. Imagine taking the accountant and saying, okay, next year you're going to do marketing, right? And you take the marketing person and you say, you know what, next year you're going to be in charge of recruitment, membership. And you take maybe the secretary and say, you know what, you've been elected, next year you're going to be president, in charge of the whole company. You would never run a company like that. But what I'm going to suggest to you is that you try and use the structures that you have to bring in experience within your club so that people aren't left stranded. And I know there are examples that I can think of, not in this district, where the PR person, the vice president for public relations, said to me, Anthony, I don't have a computer and I don't really like people. And I certainly hate using the phone. So have you any advice on me for how I get some publicity for my club? And I said to him, yes, I do have some advice for you. Hire a deputy to work with you and train them in. Share some of the workload with them, because I knew they weren't going to get anything done otherwise. So think about appointing extra people to work with you. You can do that. And you know what? If it's someone who's going to take over the role next year, perhaps, because you don't automatically have to take the next role on the ladder, then that means that they have a bank of experience which isn't lost when they then come in for the following year. So think about doing that. There's always someone in every club who has a camera around their neck. If you close your eyes, you can almost picture them. Oh, this is the latest Nikon, and it's got 300 elephants, and it's got DPI 250, and it takes them to that kind of... I don't know anything about cameras, as you can tell. But I know people who do. And you know, the first tip as you walk in the door as the new VP PR for a club, as 7 or 8 of you are on this call, find that person with the camera, sit them down and say to them, can I ask you a favor? Your photographs are amazing. They really, really are so good. No, I don't need you to tell me again about your camera, but I was wondering, would you do me a favor? Would you take the photographs for the club for us for this year? Because that way, if you do it, we can guarantee that they'll be excellent quality. So flatter them, cajole them, bribe them if necessary, but find a way to get that person in your club to take the photographs. Because then when you have club contest winners, you get brilliant photographs. When the new committee is announced, brilliant photographs. when you're having an open night, or there's a table topics winner for the night, when you're having a Christmas party. Take pictures of everything and then use them to send out to the media. And I'll explain how to deal with the media itself in a second or two. But find that person, make friends with them, sign them up to do the photography for the year, and you won't regret it. It's the same if you're doing it online. There are people who can persuade people to stop hiding behind their hiding and unmask themselves and reveal themselves, and then they can get them all organized perfectly for that pose, that online pose. And that is a beautiful thing to have as a banner for your club if you're online. It also helps with FOMO, I think it's called, the fear of missing out. So when you're promoting a meeting that has just happened, which is a great thing to do, so get the word out, not just about the meeting when it's coming up, but a meeting that has taken place, and tell people how amazing it was, how good the speeches were. Put that on a post on your social media, and we'll deal with social media later on. But if you promote it in that way, not just before the meeting, but after it, that helps to generate interest among potential attendees. You should be focused not on members, not on getting new members in. What you should be focused on as the PR person is guests. Don't worry about the members. Don't even give them a form on their first night. You certainly give them a pack to take away, or send them information subsequently, follow up with them that way, invite them to the next meeting. But I think, my personal opinion, you shouldn't pressurize people for the hard sell in the beginning. Let them come and experience it. Let the experience wash over them. Let them enjoy it, and let them out of the room or out of the virtual room without putting too much pressure on them. Sure, you can say at the end of the meeting, look, if anyone wants to have a word with us in terms of joining, then Brian is our membership executive. He's our vice president of membership. Talk to Brian at the end of the meeting. And then if they want to, they will. But invite them back. The key is, once you have guests, work on getting as many guests as you can. How do you do that? Ask the people who are already members to bring along someone who they think would benefit from attending. Someone who they feel has the same ethos as the club. So you don't want someone who is, like, if it's a very stiff and formal club, you don't want someone who's, hi, how are you? Lovely to see you. No, you want someone who matches the energy in the room and who's going to contribute accordingly, because this is your club. So you want people who are similar to you, and equally, you'll find other people want to bring people who are similar to them. Let me talk to you a little bit about radio, right? Because radio is a great way to promote your club. In Ireland, there are 34 radio stations, and there are over 600 licensed radio stations in the UK, which is an astonishing amount. Here's what you do. You approach the radio station as an area, right? Or if you have a big area, then you can. Oh, sorry, the screen disappeared on me there. My apologies. So you approach the radio stations as an area. Let's take Kerry as an example, because that's one that I know very, very well. So in Kerry, what we did was we got together Killarney Toastmasters and West Limerick Toastmasters. And the three of us, we discussed who within the club would be available to go onto a radio station and talk about subjects generally. not about Toastmasters, just general topics, motoring, relationships. So a list of topics we developed. And then we approached the radio station and said, we have 20 people here who are able to talk on your talk show about these different subjects. Here's their telephone numbers, and if they're available, they'll be free to talk to you. And then when they go on the show to talk about their first car, for example, at the end of it, they say, oh, by the way, well, that's part of the deal, that they get to talk about Toastmasters. Our club, you're a Toastmaster, aren't you, Fergus? Yes, I am. And indeed, we're having our next meeting on Thursday in the community hall round the corner. Everybody's welcome. And there you will lose your fear of public speaking and gain lots of new friends. And you get to finish and begin the interview with both of those. So that was the deal that we hammered out here in Radio Kerry, and they were very happy with it because they got a list of 20 people who would help them talk about all sorts of different subjects. And sometimes we would go on as Toastmasters as well, as James Finnegan did very recently. And he would talk about Toastmasters and what's happening in the world, and they'd get a bit there. But you can do better. So shoot for that by all means. But here was the golden prize for me. I wanted to go to a radio station and set up a set of 6 30-minute Toastmaster shows. So on those shows, we would have one speech. We would have that speech evaluated. We would have a table topic session, and then we would finish. The key was that the radio station, we had to pay them for the time. So I was negotiating that each of those 30-minute sessions would be sponsored by a local business. And I had a couple of them in the bag, and then unfortunately, as happens in Toastmasters, my year as VP PR ended. I handed over to the next person coming in, and they didn't really like the idea, and so it kind of withered on the vine. But I love the idea, and it is out there to be done by one of you listening in today, wherever you are. You can negotiate for free 6, maybe more, maybe 8, maybe 10 slots, each sponsored by a local business who will pick up the costs for the radio station, and you'll get amazing coverage that will bring lots of members to your club, to your area, to your division. So that's something I would love to see done. Maybe you'll get it done. Speaking of the area, there's an area council. Now, our area council in District 91, in our particular area, doesn't seem to meet all that often. Now, I know it's early in the year, so maybe we haven't had our meeting yet, but the presidents are normally invited along, and I think that area council at it, you could devise a PR strategy for 3 years. So you get the buy-in of all of the clubs for 3 years, rather than just 1 year. That's the problem, I think, with the club structure and by zoning in on your club alone, is that really in a year, you can't achieve as much as you would like. 3 years, by devising a 3-year plan for your area, you could change the world. You really could, or at least make bigger changes than you would otherwise. Speaking of which, one of the things that's on my list for shilling speakers over in the UK is to get a corporate sponsor for the club. Now, I'll have to check out the rules for this, but this falls within the PR remit. You see, the thing about Toastmasters is I don't like the idea of the clubs being so poor. financially. There aren't really any clubs that have lots of money sloshing around in their bank accounts. But they should have all of their costs covered. And they'd be able to do that if they secured a corporate sponsor who was agreeable to do it under certain terms. For example, you don't want Toastmasters sponsored by IKEA, or sponsored by Marie Claire, or sponsored by Ann Summers. You certainly don't want any of that. But you could have a corporate sponsor turn up and present the prizes at the area finals or at the division finals. You could have a corporate sponsor who says to the clubs, if you have someone who gets to the later stages of the international speech contest, we'll help out with costs involved so that the club isn't struggling to send the poor member overseas. So there are possibilities. Or if you were looking for technology to make sure that your club remained a hybrid club and was able to run it effectively, that would be something that would be quite legitimate for the corporate sponsor to pick up. So I would encourage clubs out there, particularly at an area level. What about a corporate sponsor for Toastmasters in an area, so that all of the fees are covered? Your hotel fees for your meetings, you don't have to charge at the door anymore. You don't have to scrimp and save and think, do I have enough money to buy stationery? Wouldn't it be great to remove that? Now, I know there are rules about how you do it, so you'd have to find someone amenable who would come in within those rules. But I remember seeing, I think Clondalkin Toastmasters have the local credit union who sponsor them. And I wonder, I haven't actually asked, but I wonder, do they pick up the costs for the club? Certainly they're on their website and they have the logo on the website, or they did a few years ago when I checked last. So that's definitely an area beyond your expected level of PR delivery that you could get involved that would make a big difference to the club, to the area and the division. Here's another good idea for you, right? To try and get more people into your club, which is probably an aim of most of the people listening in tonight. What you do is you ask them to write a 200-word blog, or to do a video blog, or a vlog, I think they call them. Now, if you've got an expert writer like Philip Campani, who can whiz out 200 words standing on his head, then that's brilliant. But what I suggest you do is you give them a list of topics for them to choose from. So don't just say, you know, I want you to stand up and I'll ask you questions. So when did you join the club, Frank? I joined in July 1993. And are you enjoying it, Frank? I am enjoying it. Yeah, I really am. Now, that's probably someone who you should get to write a blog. They give them a list of topics to discuss. My experiences as a new member. There's one. Why I keep coming back. What the young can learn from the experienced. Why you should challenge yourself. It's more than just public speaking. The social side of Toastmasters. How we build and maintain a successful club. No role in our club is too small. One for me. I love the limelight. It's helped improve my presentation skills. My year as president. The big leap to the top table. So you can come up with 20 of these. One for each member of your club, assuming you have 20, but one for each member. And then let them choose which one they want to do and whether they want to do 200 words written for you or whether they want to appear in front of the camera and talk about it. And then you can use those in your social media, and more on that in a minute. Did you know that the district that you belong to offer incentives for your performance in public relations to your club? Yeah. There's folding out there, Wonga, Dosh, waiting for you if you deliver. So I'll give you 3 of the PR incentives that they have listed on their website for this year. So if you have website of the year, you get €150. 150 euro, not bad, not bad. But you get €50 if you hold an open night, subject to some hoops that you have to jump through. And you get €50 if you do some club videos, which I have just encouraged you to do. Check out the small print, make sure that you comply with that. And there's €100 for your club, just for listening in on that call this evening. And whatever district you're in, they'll have a range of incentives, similar incentives, to encourage you to promote your club. So check those out on their website, and make sure that you hoover up that money, because it is free and waiting out there for you. Now, I mentioned the guy who said that the handover was to make sure that I kept up my subscription to the Racing Post and looked after the key to the machines cupboard. How about when you hand over next year to the person who's taking over the job from you, that you give them a leg up automatically? What if you were to keep a system where you had all of the journalists on a database somewhere? What if you were to do slightly better than that and you listed all of the interactions that you had with the journalists? Rang them on the 23rd of April, they agreed to print an article and it appeared the following week. Any of that stuff is really, really good. Or put in information about the journalist. Don't send this journalist any information this year because they're on maternity leave. This is the person who's taken over from them. Just simple little things, so that when you come in the door, you're able to operate, and ideally have it automated. Don't give it to me in a big file. It shouldn't be something that has a lever arch system that I have to wade through. Make sure it's online, because more and more people nowadays are putting everything online. Speaking of journalists, you might wonder what you have to do to get your story into the papers. And this is the question I'm most often asked when I'm talking about PR. I'm going to tell you the secret to getting stories into the paper. And if you listen to nothing else during this presentation today, this is the bit to listen to. Because whether you're promoting Toastmasters or a charity or your own business, this is how you get stories into the paper. What you do is you take out, in my case, a sheet of paper, because I love paper, and a pen. And you write down what the story is that you're trying to get into the papers. And you answer the following questions. Who is involved? What's happening? Where is it happening? When is it happening? So you have all of those answered in about 3 lines, no more than that, 4 lines. Who is the person that the journalist has to contact if they have any questions, if they want any photographs, if they want a further comment on it, they want to ask anything more. Right, and here is the secret. So you write that down. Ideally, you can even do this, right? You can write a script down. Hello, my name is Anthony Garvey, and I'm a member of Tralee Toastmasters. Have you got 30 seconds so I can share a story with you? So you write that down. although don't say that you're Anthony Garvey from Tralee Toastmasters, because you clearly aren't, but you know what I mean. And then you have the story underneath that. And underneath that, you say, does that sound like something you might be interested in? And here is the killer bit. Don't email. Don't stick it in the post. Ring the journalist. Call them. There are thousands of journalists out there who get millions of emails, but they get a handful of phone calls. Identify the journalist that you want to contact. So buy the paper, listen to the radio station, identify the journalist or the show that you want to contact. Ring them up, ideally when they're not on air, or ideally when they're not going to their deadline, and say to them, hello, have you got 30 seconds? They might say, no, I haven't. Don't be discouraged. You might tell them the story and they might say, no, I'm not interested in that. What are you ringing me with that for? That sounds awful. Fine. Cross them off the list, move to the next publication on your list and ring them. Look at the alternative, right? The alternative is you do up your press release, you attach your photographs, which is a mistake, and you send them off to lots of people and you wait. And you wait. And you wait. Have they got it? Why aren't they ringing me? Are they going to use it? Maybe I should send them another email. Don't do that. Take 1 minute out of your life to call them, and you'll know instantly whether they're going to use it. And if they're not, move on to the next one on your list and work your way down like that. And it's that approach that has kept me in the lifestyle that I have grown accustomed to, by calling people, by having their numbers, by finding out their numbers. So please do that. Ring the journalist if at all possible. Now, in some cases, you'll be able to get stories into the paper which they use on a regular basis. Like again, down here in Kerry, to use the example, Tralee Toastmasters have very wisely got stories about their meetings into the notes section of the paper. And in a lot of Irish papers, newspapers, they have a notes section. And you can ring up and persuade the editor to include a section, as Tralee Toastmasters did. So that wasn't my doing. I was long gone off to Shilling to try and set them up and work with them when this was happening. So do that, absolutely do that. Ring them up when you see an opportunity and try and persuade them. They can only say no. And if they do say no, move on to the next target on your list. Let's talk a little bit about podcasts. And I mentioned podcasts because I see Violetta Saladien is in the room. And she, along with James, who's involved in an excellent talk show for talkers in Ireland, but Shilling Speakers have an amazing podcast. And they have 45 episodes. The latest one, I think, is going online in the next day or two. So what I would encourage everybody in the room to do is to go and look, just type Shilling Speakers into Google, Shilling Speakers podcast, and have a listen to some of the episodes and consider giving your members or your area a podcast. Again, it's the thing that you could do in the area and share the responsibility and share the publicity for it, because it's brought us lots of members and has generated lots of interest and lots of activity. And if you have a podcast, you can invite people from all around the world. speakers from all around the world. So at our club, we had Alexandre Matt turn up there recently, and he finished second in the international speech contest, something that Philip Campani knows all about, because he achieved the same accolade. Alexander has an amazing speech, by the way, on a no-bake cake. If you haven't heard it, check it out. It really is fantastic. I'll give you some more PR tips while we're on the subject. Have a video showing what people can expect if they turn up at your club. Now, just edit it, right? So that we don't want an hour-long production. This doesn't have to be a Steven Spielberg gig. Maybe make it 3 or 4 minutes. And I remember, I think it was Ennis Toastmasters, Ennis, who celebrated their 50th anniversary this month, who had a crackling fire to start off. And the pub door opened, or the hotel door opened, and you could see a bustling room with people walking around. Already you're getting a feel for the atmosphere. There were snippets of the speeches. There was introductions from the Toastmasters. There were little clips from people saying, well, I joined this club 5 years ago and I was terrified of speaking, but now, you know, I've found friends in the room and I'm able to carry out my duties. It's improved me and my business life no end. That really, really works. And video is something that attracts lots of young people. And I hope you won't mind me saying this, but one of the problems with Toastmasters that we should fix is our demographic. You know, you're all my age. Yeah. And really what we need is these young people who are going to college, who are going to be sitting in front of screens or sitting in front of people doing interviews. They should be getting the jobs because they have come and they've practiced, they've prepared, and they've learned the skills in Toastmasters. And one way to get them in is through video, because they spend all their time looking at video. So do consider doing that. Part of the reason that we have been successful in both Tralee and Shilling in attracting members in has been the program of meetings that we have during the year. So don't just, I would encourage you not to make it just one regular meeting after another. Try and come up with different themed meetings. So in Shilling this year, we're having an Alfred Hitchcock meeting. We have a blind date meeting. Try doing that online. It's quite interesting because genuinely, the prize, 3 people you can't identify their voices. And the prize for the person who chooses, they end up in a breakout room and then discover to their horror who they've actually chosen. I'd have to stay there for 15 minutes. So that's, you can do all that kind of stuff. Or when we did it in Tralee, we sent them into the bar to have a pint together. But we blindfolded people so they couldn't tell who they were. Irish night at Shilling Speakers. See you all on March the 13th. Put that in your diary because we have great online fun. But having an Irish night, again, is something that's fantastic. Pecha Kucha night. You don't know what Pecha Kucha is? They put different images up for 20 seconds and then they disappear and you've got to weave a narrative around it. All of these kind of things are different little tricks and tests and skills that your existing members can develop, but they're brilliant things to promote in the media and to encourage people to come along and try something different. So that would be the way that you put together a little story for it in the local press. Would be, what are we doing? So we're doing a backwards night, where everybody does their role backwards from start to finish. What time is it on? When is it on? How are you doing it? Hello? My name is Anthony Garvey. I'm calling from Tralee Toastmasters. We're holding a backwards meeting on the 17th of November. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? Yeah, send me over a bit on that. Have you any photographs? Yeah, I can send you some photographs taken by our friend with the Nikon camera. Lovely, lovely. And over go the photographs and then follow up. You know, invite, in some cases, they have their own photographers. So invite those photographers to come and take pictures. There's a Halloween night that is famous in Tralee Toastmasters. And apart from showing you round the actual haunted castle where it's held, one of the great things about it is that the photographer turns up and it is plastered all over the newspapers down here. So it's a great thing to do and attend. You're coming up to the second half of the year now. So for January, can you put in some more interesting meetings and plug them into the gap? What I like to do when I'm running a club is to make sure that they have the program for the second half of the year. So I'm president of Shilling this year, and that's what they will have. So people will know what they're signing up for the next 6 months. Can you put in there some interesting, some quirky meetings that you could use to promote the club? It's a great way to do it. Here's another tip, right? Many of the clubs close down for the months, the summer months. And a great way to encourage people in is the World Championship of Public Speaking, which, as we know, Philip finished second in and has been, you've been a finalist on more than one occasion, on multiple occasions. Here's what you do. For $20, you can buy a recorded transmission of the World Championship of Public Speaking. Show it. Show it. Hire out your venue. Somewhere you've got a screen. You've got a guy who doesn't need to be technical, or a girl who can sit at a computer, log on to the World Championship of Public Speaking, and then transmit it. Invite people along. We're having a showing of the World Championship of Speaking. Come along. And then when they turn up, give them all a judge's ballot. Let them be the judges. Let them decide who they think the World Championship of Public Speaking is. Get your photographer to take shots of everybody in the room. And maybe you could even announce who the real World Champion of Public Speaking is. It's Philip Campani. He was second in the real World Championship, but we have decided he's numero uno, the winner. And you can put out a press release to that effect. That would get a lot of publicity if you feel so brave. So you could do very, very simple things for $20 that would cost you. And you generate a lot of interest in the summer months when people are just coming back. Canva is a fantastic thing. I know in D71, they were giving training sessions in Canva, and you can whip up a poster, absolutely no problem, change it around, put in lots of great graphics. If you don't know how to use it, do sign up to use it and get some training in it. Or find someone in your club and allocate them that responsibility, because promoting your meetings before they happen is a great way to get people in, and it's part of the PR job. Rotary have done a deal with Toastmasters, and they attend each other's meetings, but have people from your club gone to a Rotary meeting. I know Violetta has recently joined Rotary, so she's a dual member. Are there dual members in the room? Perhaps there are. Have they been invited to come to Toastmasters? They would benefit enormously from doing so. So maybe you could pop over there and invite them to bring some of their people over. And when they come and visit as guests, you'll find that they'll want to come again. And as happened to me the other day, I had a guest say to me when we were handing out roles, "Oh, can I deliver a speech at the next meeting?" And I said to him, absolutely, of course you can. There's just one small issue though. You need to be a member to deliver a speech, but we would love to have you as a member. You came as a guest last week and you're back here again. So if you join as a member, then yes, you can be giving a speech next week. And more often than not, when you put it like that, they say, oh, okay, all right. Where do I sign? Where do I pay? And then you have a new member. Let's talk a little bit about social media before we get to the end. And I see the time is racing away. Social media is really important. Here is my suggestion for you on social media. Don't spread yourself too thin. Don't try and do them all. Try some of them, but use the ones that work for you. I wouldn't be paying money personally to boost posts and do all of that kind of stuff to try and attract interest. But there are some really good things that you can do for nothing. So on LinkedIn, for example, you can create your own showcase page. On LinkedIn, for example, you can, if you do it correctly, you can attract lots of interest from people who are coming to the UK or coming to Ireland from overseas, because they use that as their professional tool. Check out things like Meetup to see, are they worth doing in your area? In some areas, they're sensational for attracting people. In others, they're awful. So try it. Don't spend money on doing these things. Have a look at whether where you are attracting people from when they come in the door. There's a wonderful form that Toastmasters hands out that we used to give out in Tralee Toastmasters, where you get people just to give in their details, and it has a line there about how did you hear about us. That's gold dust, because you need to measure which social media is working for you. Don't try everything and hope that people will come in the door. You might find that radio is the key, or your local newspaper is really doing well, or your local free sheet. It could be something very, very simple that is being successful for you. Speaking of social media, there's nothing more depressing than looking at someone put out a beautiful Canva poster and it has no likes or no comments at all. It's sitting there alone, unloved. Here's what you do. For anyone who is attending a meeting that you are promoting, you make it compulsory that they comment on it, that they say that they're going to the meeting. Really, it could be something simple like really looking forward to it. If it's anything like the last meeting, it'll be a cracker. And suddenly there begins to be a buzz about a meeting. You find people who you didn't think would be commenting are now making comments. Oh, what time is it on? I might pop along. Why? Because it looks like it's not just one person holding a meeting in a telephone box. It's a proper Toastmasters club with people getting involved. By the way, when I mentioned radio, here is an advanced tip for you. I mentioned that you promote your radio show and the fact that you're being on it before you appear. And obviously, when the podcast comes out or the recording comes out, if you can, you promote it then. But here's the advanced tip. Promote it during the radio show. What you do is you get half a dozen members of your club to ring up the show while you are on it. And you say, like if it's Anne Lawler, who's on Radio Kerry, for example, I would send in a text to say, I love what Anne Lawler said about Tralee Toastmasters. It's fantastic. It's changed my life. Next text in is from James Finnegan. It's incredible what Tralee Toastmasters has done for me. I didn't have any confidence. Now I'm chairing my own meetings. And they'll read out 3 or 4 of these on the show, which re-emphasizes and re-stresses the points that you have been making, particularly if you're only on to talk about used cars and you have used it as leverage to get in the first place. So always be clever during the show, yeah, not just before and after it. So those are the main points that I have. The other thing that I'd be keen that you do is to set up subcommittees within your structure. We do a lot of reporting using WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is very efficient in terms of if there's a radio interview or a media interview that we need to do in a hurry, we can send out a message on it and someone can say, yes, I'm available, I can do it now. Or if we need to take a quick decision that doesn't require a full committee meeting, by the way, you should have committee meetings, in my opinion, every 6 weeks. Now it can be longer, it's up to you, but around that scale of time. Then if it doesn't require an immediate, a full meeting, WhatsApp is brilliant for that. If it's something that you need to vote on, you can say, send me your votes and I'll let you know what the decisions are. All the votes go to one person, they look at it, and a majority of the committee vote for a single decision. So WhatsApp, I absolutely recommend it. But I also recommend strongly bringing in extra expertise, particularly if you know that you're weak in a particular area. Let's say the new VP PR in your club is like the man who I described earlier, who doesn't know how to work a computer and doesn't like people and is not going to call any journalists. Get a subcommittee and have some help for him there. Bring that in. Suggest it. That because the load is so big, do it however you like. But the key is, you know, you have the interests of the club to protect. And he's now assumed this role, and you know that he may not be the best person for it. Yes, of course, he can grow into the role and he can learn by experience during the year. But that would be my suggestion for you and for how to go about it. For the corporate clubs who are listening here today, I always wondered whether I would turn up at a corporate club knowing that my boss had just delivered a speech and I had to evaluate it. How do you cope with that? Do you take the confrontational approach that Baldrick did, or Blackadder did, when Baldrick wrote a book in Blackadder? If you haven't seen Blackadder, check it out. Blackadder said to Baldrick, your book started badly, tailed off in the middle, and the less said about the end, the better. No, you don't. But you don't also want to be too fulsome in your praise. Find a point for improvement that maybe isn't too controversial. But you need to know whether you can speak your mind to your boss or not, and you're probably best placed to judge that. But the big point about corporate clubs is anyone who goes improves their public relations and public speaking experience. They'll get better by turning up. And you will see that they have got better simply because they attended. So watch out for those in corporate clubs. Take up the opportunity, and corporate clubs, please take part in the area competitions. Involve yourself, integrate yourself into the division. We'd love to come round and visit you. Come over and see us as well. Now, I've been talking for almost an hour, and while I have a slurp here of a small mug of coffee, I see the light has turned red. Thank you, Matty, for keeping me to time. What I'll do is, if there's any questions, I'm going to hand back to the MCs who will sort that out, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for listening.
Right, if we can have a big round of applause for Anthony Garvey for his amazing whistle-stop tour of all his PR tips to help us gets inspiration for our clubs. So now we move on to question time. I don't think I've seen any questions come into the chat. So let's have your hands going up, and then we'll invite you to ask our expert some questions that we haven't answered yet. So we have one hand up already. Tom Flynn, please would you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'm the VP PR here in Westport, and I also cover West Wake. It's a Zoom club, and bi-weekly, where Westport Toastmasters is concerned, I get copy into the Mayo News Car Telegraph Western People, average 344, 380 words. And I know at that level, sure. So I'm asking Anthony if he would have any comments to make that I could actually improve on the word count in an effective way without actually increasing the word count. What pointers would you give there? Thank you very much, Susan and Anthony.
I'm not sure if it was just my computer, but at the key middle of your question, you caught up. So the issue is with your word count.
Yes. Before, I mean, I've been doing it for years, but I just wonder how could I make it more effective?
Okay. So when you're only given a certain number of words, the best way that you can improve it, especially if you've been doing it for a while, is to get a number of people to do it, so that it's not just you. Right, so you're taking on the responsibility, and you're a single voice, and you're doing a great job. And to have that space guaranteed every couple of weeks in the paper is fantastic. But what I would suggest is that you share the responsibility, and you allow someone else, you bring someone else. Do it as an educational thing. If you have someone who wants to learn the post and say, look, I'm going to put together this 300 words. You think you could do it? I'll show you how to do it. It's quite a tricky skill. It is an important thing. It's copywriting is essentially what you're doing in 300 words. So I would find someone else to work with, who you could then share it. So your aim would be to share the job, share the work with someone else, and get them to do it part of the time. But it would also add a freshness to the voice, yeah, if you pick the right person, it would help develop their skills too.
Anthony, unfortunately for Toastmasters here in Westport, they seem to be very, very shy when it comes to writing. Okay. But thank you very much for your answer. Greatly appreciated. Yeah,
well, to see, I mean, I would definitely put it out there. You've got a healthy membership, and say, look, at the next meeting, I'm looking for someone to give me a hand to write the notes for the paper on an occasional basis. So you can come up and see me privately and discuss with it if you'd be interested. And I'll teach you how to do it and put it together. And it's quite a nice little skill to have. So you could sell it that way and see.
Perfect.
Fingers crossed for you.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
No problem, Tom. You're on mute there, Susan.
I don't know how I did that. Anyway, let's move on to Philip Kapani. The stage is yours.
Actually, that was absolutely brilliant. But most of what you were talking about, of course, applies to in-person clubs. As you know, I'm trying to promote a new advanced online club,
yes,
like Shilling.
Yes.
And it's in early days. Is there one thing in particular that an online club should do that's different from the in-person club?
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, I actually think that online clubs have an amazing advantage over in-person clubs, because if you are going to an in-person club, so if I want to go to Tralee tonight, I got to get out of my seat, I got to get into my car, drive in the freezing cold down to their location, and then hang around there, come back. My kids are asleep by the time I arrive home. If there's any dinner, it's been given to the dog. So there's no possibility of doing that. Whereas the experience of going online is instant. I can tuck my kids into bed at night and still make the meeting. So the advantage that you have is not that. The advantage is that you can reach out to people all around the world. Because your online club, Philip, is to do with writing, I would be looking to reach out to famous writers and to have them as make guest appearances on your show. What about John Banville, for example? Why should he not come to your club and deliver a presentation? What about John B. Keane, his son, Billy Keane, who is an amazing writer? And I mean, those are just two off the top of my head. But if writing is your thing,
no, it's not. It's not only writing. It's wordsmiths. People speak,
right?
As well as write.
So how about getting in an elite copywriter to talk you through how they put together, how they come up with their ideas? And I know you did that for a while in your illustrious career. But what about one of these guys from Ogilvy and Mather, or whatever they're called? And you can get them. You can reach out and get these. Whereas a community club can't, because people have to get on a plane and fly halfway across the world sometimes. So you have an amazing opportunity being online to reach out and turn your meetings into a kingdom of opportunities. I look forward to attending.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philip. And thanks, Anthony, for your response. That sounds like a great suggestion. Do we have any more questions from our audience? We still have some time. So now is the time to ask your questions while you have this opportunity. Oh, we've silenced them. I'm just going to see if I can...
I see Dave Clinton there says, Clondalkin Toastmasters use the sponsorship to defray costs and... Oh, it's just disappeared. Defray costs and what was it? Was
that in the chat?
Pay for prizes. Excellent. So like that's a great thing. Like I used to hate the idea that people were rattling the tin trying to collect money for the clubs. Wouldn't it be great if all that could be taken away from them? And I see Tom O'Keefe, who has his virtual hand raised. Certainly in one of his clubs, he was building up a library of amazing speeches and videos that people could access and programs. Wouldn't that be fantastic if the corporate club built up that library for you? Tom, have you a question?
Yes, Anthony, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Right. My question is coming back, and I'll stick to this question with regards to websites. I know you briefly mentioned it, and would you recommend, I know you're not a fan of Free Toast, but would you recommend any club to use any alternative website that is not going to cost a lot of money for hosting? As you know, the biggest cost of a website, once you have it developed, is to host it every year.
Yes.
You know, it's fairly costly. Would you recommend any free hosting? And I suppose most of them, the ones that are free, are probably full of ads as well. So ad free, if you, I don't know, maybe you know something that we don't know.
Not really is the answer. The free Toastmasters websites are good enough, but as you say, I'm not enamored. I'm not in love with them in any regard. When we were at Tralee, we did Tralee Toastmasters have their own website which they host, and I don't think the fees are too prohibitive. I think from memory it was Black Knight. Sometimes you can find someone in the club who is already hosting a number of websites and who will agree to pick up the fee and do it that way. So
Okay.
again, like the photographer, you can talk to people. But we have been struggling with whether we should do a website in shilling, and I'm not a fan of the idea, because I think you should focus on a number of social media sites and not too many. And I want to know the reason behind hosting it. You know, why should we have it? So for that reason, it's probably stalled while I've been president, but it's probably going to happen anyway.
No, it's just in my club in particular, we have a big problem in the fact that we get more visitors than we get members some nights.
Right.
And the reason we asked them a question, we asked them, how did you find us? Where did you come across? And primarily it's the website that drives them. We're not spotted on social media because that's all over the place, but it's the website. They go in and also allied to the website is the search engine optimization part. You've got to be found once people type in public speaking courses in your area. You've got to be on the first page. If you're on the second page, forget about it. You're not going to be fun. They're not going to hang on.
Well, I would. There are other elements of your meeting that you got to look at if you're finding that you're getting a lot of guests and they aren't being converted into members. Because what you'll find is if you run a good meeting and they're interesting and they're varied, that people will sign up and they'll join. And if they don't, then you need to look at some other element. You know, ask them, you know, why did you not join? Did you not enjoy it? Was it not for you?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I agree.
I mean the reasons why people don't join is valuable as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Anthony. Can we go to Bill Hayden, because he's got his physical hand up, and then we'll go to David. So over to you, Bill.
Bill from America. How are you, Bill?
How you doing, Anthony? I've been a member and going back and forth and joining meetings for about a year now in America, Ireland, and it remains a mystery to me what separates the vital, growing clubs from those that are not. Could you give me or us 3 points, Anthony, that you believe separates those vital growing clubs from the others?
All right. Well, I can certainly think of 2, and by the time I've delivered the second one, hopefully I'll think of a third. Right. The first one is the committee. So, Bill, you've been a member of Shilling for a little while now, and I will wager that you don't know who the members of our committee are. I mean, you might know I'm president, but you wouldn't be able to name all the members of the committee and what they do. These are the unseen little people who deal with all of the issues that come up and are dealt with without the members seeing them at all. So one of my pet peeves is when there is a disagreement and it's aired in public. I really hate when dirty linen is washed in public. It's got to be dealt with privately to see if you can resolve it. And obviously, if you need to get the serious troops in, then fair enough. But a good committee, Bill, is the first thing that marks you as different. An interesting program. I mentioned some of the meetings that you come along to. So I challenged each of the members of the committee this year to be Toastmaster for a meeting of their own. And that meant that they have to organize it themselves, work out what the theme is, arrange the staffing of it. They'll get support from the members of the club, but each of the committee members is to design their own meeting and it can be as elaborate or as straightforward as they wish, but they are responsible for that. So that's two of the reasons. And the third one, seeing as I had time, and you're very gracious to me there, Bill, is the diversity of our members. So if you look at someone like Tamara Evans, who has just joined and is on screen there with us, Tamara hasn't pitched up from from Tralee. She's joined us internationally. I think you're from Ukraine. Is that correct, Tamara? There she is, nodding away. And Brian Heaton, who's in the corner of my screen, he's joining us from England, right? Our club, because it's online and it's international, has members from 13 different countries. And we have the thing that marks us out as different is that we are not an advanced club, but we have an advanced attitude. That's the difference. So we are a regular club where people at all levels can join, but we take an advanced attitude to it. So we throw members in at the deep end immediately. So Tamara was barely in the club when we encouraged her to take a role, and we had a member who joined a few months ago, and on his first meeting, I said to him, okay, you're a contest chair at the next meeting. Never done it before. Talked them through how to do it. We throw you in at the deep end. So that, I think, is the difference. Work with the members to create opportunities for them. So in Violetta's podcast, there are 3 new people who joined our club who are working with her on the podcast at the moment, getting them exposure. We get everybody to judge, so they're familiar with the ballots. We get people to learn and train them on Zoom so that they get accustomed to the technology. So it's more of an opportunity for them to learn and use the skills that they develop. That's those are 3 points to you. Thank you, Bill.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Now let's go to David Clinton.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you, Anthony, for a very comprehensive delivery of what's in your mind about this particular subject that we're all interested in. I've served as VPPR a number of times. I'm not VPPR this year, but I would like to endorse some of the elements of what you said earlier about working as a team, the committee, forming subcommittees, particularly in the PR area where you can interact or interchange. In one of the years that I served as VPPR, one person looked after social media and I looked after dealing with radio and newspapers. And that year we had 26 inclusions in newspapers.
Wow. We
had 3 appearances on radio. Everybody said I had a great face for radio for some reason. I don't know what that was all about. But the consequence of all of those efforts was that while it mightn't have appeared that our efforts on one side were successful, any more successful than another, all of the efforts combined resulted in an additional, more consistent membership for about 3 years. And we used that consistency then, as you say, to plan forward how we would go about things. We'd hand over our contacts at the end of each year when we'd have a debrief. We'd say, these are our contacts in the local newspapers. These are our contacts in the local radio stations. This is what appears to work. An article between 150 and 250 words, including 3 photographs, a title, preferred, but not always necessary, because the newspapers quite often want to pick their own headline. So you give them that opportunity, and also contacting them at the right time during the week, you know, Monday or Tuesday, if the edition comes out on Thursday, that type of thing. Or if the edition comes out on another day, then, as you say, if you get talking to the journalist in question, that they will give you that needed information to tell you, yeah, you need to have it with me by such and such a date or time during the week. All absolutely imperative information. I like the idea about even the small inclusions in the papers, whether it's a little news bulletin section, community news section, or as is the case in some of the local newspapers here, the events guide. All free inserts in local newspapers. It's just that you have to keep reminding them.
Well, here's a tip for you, David. I know you're involved in Toastmasters for golf.
Right,
And
yeah.
if I was, I must come to your club someday. I play horrible golf, but
Excellent, excellent.
But
So do we.
But a true hacker. But if I was your PR person, what I would be doing is trying to get Paula Carrington to come, or Mark Power, who's the new professional this year. Now Rory McIlroy you might struggle with, but someone who is a familiar name, who
Shane Lowry or someone
again, like Philip and the suggestion for the writers, you get something different. You get a big draw in, and I've seen because I PR guy, so I've seen your publicity on LinkedIn, and it's very good. And I've seen that you do videos as well with people, which is also really, really good. And that will attract like-minded people in. Now, the pool that you're pulling from are Toastmasters, but they're international Toastmasters.
Yes,
The one thing that I would say to you. So when there is a tournament on, when the Masters is on, when the US Open is on, when the British Open is on, these are all little lights that are going off in my PR head to say, when the Irish Open is on, there are things that you can do around those on a PR front.
Absolutely, and we did do it at the Ryder Cup. Not this year, we did it last year, and there was one particular moment when Shane Lowry pulled a point in at the end of his doubles or pairing section, and he had the big fist pump and all of that. We shared that. I think we got 2,000 hits. So it just, it's absolutely correct. When you identify with something that's current, that's happening, it works very well. But thank you, Anthony,
No
for
problem,
everything.
David. Good luck with it.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Anthony, for the response. And I think I've just seen Tom Keith's hand go up again, so he's obviously got another burning question.
Yeah.
Burn away.
Okay, besides websites, which is my hobby horse, because I firmly believe in them, the other thing for attracting new members to your clubs, and I'm helping District 71 to promote this, as well as my own Division B, and that's speechcraft. One word, speechcraft.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Look, there are a pool of people out there who are, especially youngsters. I go around some of the schools, and I know Siobhan Fitzgerald has a program for the schools as well, and there's a hunger there among the kids to learn how to stand up and present. And I think I shared it in a speech. Maybe some of you saw it, where a Lithuanian girl sent me a letter to say, you came to my school and I had no friends, and because of you I got up the courage to speak, and now my mother says I have too many friends. So I mean, you can't win them all, but to be able to reach out and touch young people's lives is huge. So speechcraft, a massive thing.
But just to clarify on speechcraft, it's
you're
really
doing the police, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's mainly for adults that we do it. It's not for kids as such. We did try it in the school one time, and it didn't work out too well. But no, it's for corporate companies, organizations locally in our city, local cities, and in surrounding areas, and also, as you said, the Irish police.
Yeah, so Tom is running a very successful program with the police at the moment, and it's gone great guns over here.
Yeah, 36 on a waiting list so far.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. So where do you put your adverts for your Speechcraft, Tom? I'll ask you a question.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Where do you put your adverts to the Speechcraft if you've got 36 people on your waiting list?
We advertise in front of 14,500 people every month because we do an article. One of my colleagues that does it, he's in the police as well, and he has access to their newsletter, which means he gives he's writing. They're mad looking for articles from him. So at the end of every article, guess what? He says, there's a public speaking program going on. Would you like to join? And he puts his phone number in. That's how we get the people. But we've been getting lots of inquiries from different companies in the Munster area to do Speechcraft. The biggest problem I haven't got enough experienced people. That's my biggest problem.
So there, if anyone wants to help Tom out, then step forward, send him a note afterwards, and let him know.
Yeah.
By the way, I'd like to, on behalf of Tralee and Shilling, I'd like to invite you to both of our clubs, and I'll try and get round to as many of the clubs as I can myself. Tralee is fantastic club down in a beautiful part of Kerry county that they call the Kingdom. Is my home, probably my spiritual home by now, and they hold in-person meetings, whereas Shilling speakers are online, and you can come and join us anytime. Just check it out. All of the details for the meeting are online, and we have two left. We're no break for us during the summer, so we're a 365 day a year club.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. So I do like to please can you all put your hands together for Anthony Garvey. I'd like to give him a vote of thanks from District 71, and to thank you all for coming here tonight. And it's been great to hear your questions.
Thank you. And before we go, can I suggest that as many people on screen turn their cameras on, and then
yes,
some wise person take a little picture, and you can use it then to promote the meetings. And nice,
yeah,
Vasiliki and Gita, who I know, turn up as well. So hello to both of you.
Yeah. So if you can all turn your cameras on, I'll take a screenshot, because this would make a good little PR piece for the district newsletter. So have we got all cameras on now? And your biggest smiles, please. Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you so much. And oh, there we go. That's it. I've got you.
I'll have three copies of that, please.
3 copies of that. Okay, brilliant. So thank you very much for coming. And I want to also thank all of my helpers tonight. We've had Nick Collins, our Zoom master, who opened up the room for us, so we are here on time. Thank Matty for his timekeeping, keeping us to time. And of course, Anthony Garvey for his wisdom in PR and helping us to find some quick wins that we can apply and use some strategies to increase our word and getting the world knowing where we are. That's been amazing.
Don't forget Susan as well to Susan.
I wanted to thank James Finnegan for introducing our guest speaker this evening.
Perfect.
And of course, I am your MC tonight, and thank you all for coming. It's been such a wonderful evening, and I'm really glad that you are here this evening. And we have recorded the session, so we have a videographer who will be uploading this onto our D71 YouTube channel. So if you're not following us there, then do follow us, so any new content is available to you straight away.
Yeah, and connect with me on LinkedIn. You know, you'll find me there are a few Anthony Garveys, but there's only one with this kind of face, so you'll recognize him. Tap it in.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you all for coming, and thanks indeed. So
Yo!
whoa. Fantastic. All right. Thank you.